With the untimely death of actor James Gandolfini recently, many people are reminded of the importance of, taking better care of yourself and having a good estate plan. My guest is Jeremy Dopp with Security First Financial in Mesa, Arizona. Jeremy, welcome back.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
So it's been reported that Gandolfini's estate was somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 million. What kind of estate tax bill should his heirs be planning for?
Well, in an article that I was reading, it said that about 80% of his estate would be taxable, and of that estate tax, at about a rate of about 55%. And the thing that could have helped is if he would have had a good estate plan in force, he could have avoided millions of dollars in estate tax for his heirs.
So it's been said that estate planning is sort of intimidating for many consumers. Is there any reason for people to be afraid of estate planning?
Well, I actually believe that the opposite is true. I think that people should be afraid that they're not doing estate planning and some of the consequences of not doing so. I think a big misconception out there as well is that estate planning is for the rich only and that it can be very expensive. And I think that estate planning can benefit everyone out there. And if they look around, it can be very, very affordable.
So why is estate planning so important?
Well, one thing to think about is probate. A lot of people may or may not have heard of probate, but probate is when you haven't taken care of your estate plan, and the probate process can be very expensive if your assets have to go through probate. It can be very expensive for your heirs, and hiring attorneys can be very expensive as well. Another thing to think about, I think a lot of younger people aren't so concerned about probate, but one thing to think about is also guardianship for children. Healthcare directives are very important, as well as powers of attorney and all those. There's a lot of legal documents that are taken care of in the estate planning process that are very important.
Where is the first place someone should go if they would like to get an estate plan done?
Well, I think the first place to start is with an advisor. Advisor understands all of your assets, and he can sit down and go through your assets and help you understand how beneficiaries should be set up and how each one of these assets are affected if you haven't set up an estate plan. After they've gone through some of those resources and your assets, they can sit down with an attorney and an accountant and bring those professionals in to help you get your estate plan done properly.
Now, Jeremy, is there something a person can do immediately that could have a positive effect on an estate?
Well, one thing a person can do is to sit down with an advisor and go through each one of their assets and understand what beneficiaries are set up for each one of those assets. And by understanding that, they'll know the tax consequences. They can also understand whether the beneficiary is sufficient or whether they should, make sure and set up a trust to make sure that those assets don't go through the probate process.
Well, finally, Jeremy, it was also recently reported that singer Whitney Houston had not updated her will in 20 years. So how often should someone go back and review the estate plan?
Well, definitely 20 years is way too long to wait. I like to encourage my clients to do it at least every 3 to 5 years, if not sooner, depending on how frequently they change in asset purchases, things like that. So I would encourage people every 3 to 5 years should be sufficient in reviewing those assets and making sure that your estate plan is set up properly.
Jeremy, that was great information. If someone watching had questions, how would they get in touch with you?
You can reach us at www.securityfirst-financial.com or by phone at 480-330-6439.
Jeremy, thanks again.
Good to be here. Thank you.
My guest has been Jeremy Dopp with Security First Financial in Mesa, Arizona. This is Retirement News Today.